The soft gurgling sounds of our 8-month-old son Leo usually brought a wave of warmth to my chest. But today, as I held him in my arms, that warmth was replaced by a chilling emptiness. My wife Clara was perched on the edge of the floral sofa, her eyes, usually pools of affection, now glued to Leo with an almost desperate intensity. "Look at our little man," she said, reaching out to stroke his downy hair. The word "our" grated on me. A jagged piece of glass lodged in my throat. It was a word I'd once cherished, a symbol of the life we had built together. But now it was a mocking reminder of the betrayal I was about to expose. We were in my parents' living room, a space that had always felt like a safe haven. Gathered here today were my parents, Clara's parents, and her younger sister Anna. The air was thick with unspoken tension. Everyone knew something was amiss. The usual festive family get-together replaced by a strained, unnatural calm. They were all waiting for something, but none of them knew just how much the foundation of our reality was about to crumble. Clara shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting around the room. "Is everything okay, David?" she asked, her voice a little too high. "You've been so quiet all day." I looked down at Leo, his innocent face a stark contrast to the turmoil within me. He was blissfully unaware of the storm raging around him. That was perhaps the cruelest part, the fact that I had brought a child into a life that was predicated on a lie. I took a deep breath, the weight of the truth pressing down on my lungs. "No, Clara," I said, my voice low and controlled. "Everything is not okay." I carefully handed Leo to my mother, who took him with a worried look, and stood up, a man possessed. I walked to the mahogany side table and picked up the sealed envelope I had placed there earlier. The crisp white paper seemed to hum with its secret, an accusation ready to be made. "These came in the mail this morning," I stated, holding up the envelope. "They're the results of a paternity test." Clara's face paled. Her hand flew to her throat, her eyes wide with a fear that could not be concealed. I tore the envelope open, the sound echoing in the unnaturally silent room. I pulled out the single sheet of paper, the stark black lettering of the DNA results feeling like a slap to the face, and handed it to her. Clara took the paper, her hands trembling. The color drained from her face as she scanned the document. Her breath hitched in her throat. The room waited, not daring to breathe, each of them an unwitting character in a play they had no idea they were performing. After what felt like an eternity, she finally looked up, her eyes wet with unshed tears. This can't be right," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "Oh, I assure you it's right," I said, my voice hard. "According to these results, Leo is not my son." The silence that followed was deafening. The gasp from Clara's mother was barely a rustle in the sudden vacuum. My own mother put a protective arm around Leo, glaring at Clara with a silent rage I'd never seen before. Clara's father looked like he had aged a decade. Her sister Margaret stared at her with such disdain that Clara had to look away. I watched as the carefully constructed facade of our marriage, of our lives, crumbled into dust around us. Who is his father?" Clara choked out, her eyes pleading with me, but I offered no comfort. My heart had been ripped out long ago. It was not my turn to soothe. "That," I said, my gaze locking onto hers, "is a question you're going to have to answer, and you can start with why you thought you could get away with this." I didn't need to explain. The implication hung in the air, thick and heavy. She began to sob, her carefully constructed world collapsing around her. I didn't mean to," she wailed. "It just happened." The words were so cliché, so expected, that they felt like an insult to my intelligence. "It just happened?" I repeated, my voice rising. "A baby, Clara. This wasn't some drunken mistake at a party. This was months of lies, of deceit. You brought another man's child into our home, into my life, and you had the gall to call him ours." The anger that had been simmering inside me finally boiled over. I felt a surge of rage so potent that I wanted to destroy something. Anything. I took a step closer to her, my voice a low growl. "Pack your things," I said, pointing towards the door. "You're leaving." Clara's eyes widened, a mix of shock and terror washing over her face. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I don't care where you go," I said, my voice devoid of any warmth. "And take him with you." I gestured to Leo, who was now squirming in my mother's arms. But David, he's just a baby," Clara stammered, tears streaming down her face. "He's not my baby," I corrected her coldly. "He's the product of your betrayal, and I want neither of you in my house." The room remained silent. My parents and Clara's parents looked on in stunned disbelief. No one had expected me to be so callous. But they had no idea of the depth of my pain, of the hurt that had burrowed its way into the marrow of my bones. I wanted them gone. Both of them. Clara, clearly understanding that I was not going to change my mind, began to pack her bags, her sobs becoming louder and more frantic. My mother, despite the look of horror on her face, gently handed Leo back to Clara. I felt a moment of something akin to a pang, but I quickly dismissed it. He was not my son, and I was done with pretending he was. As Clara struggled to put Leo into his carrier, I walked over to the door and opened it wide, waiting for them to leave. Her parents and sister stood in silence, unable to look me in the eye. I had become a stranger in their eyes, someone they no longer recognized. I did not care. As Clara finally walked out the door, her face a mask of despair, I slammed it shut behind her, the sound echoing in the now empty house. My parents walked up to me, their faces edged with concern. "David, are you sure you're doing the right thing?" my mother asked, her voice full of worry. "Absolutely," I said, my voice calm and resolute. "I'm taking back my life." I didn't look back as I walked away from them. I got into my car and drove off, my mind made up. I needed to face this man, the man who had slept with my wife and fathered a child I thought was mine. I drove straight to the gym. I found him in the weight room. I confronted him, and the rage I felt was palpable. It ended in the same brutal beatdown I had envisioned. I left him there, a bloody mess, a shell of the arrogant man he had been. I went to the police station and turned myself in. After that, the days that followed were a blur of legal proceedings. I pleaded guilty and accepted my sentence. As I awaited my sentencing, I got word of the fallout from my actions. Clara was a pariah in her town. The news of her infidelity had spread like wildfire. She had lost her job, her friends had turned their backs on her, and her parents were mortified. The same was true for her lover. His life was a wasteland of broken promises and shattered dreams. Clara tried to contact me, begging for forgiveness, but I refused to speak to her. I was done with her lies, her deceit. I wanted nothing to do with her. Leo, I had to admit, caused me a moment of pause, but I knew I could never look at him again without seeing her betrayal, without feeling the pain. I decided to let her deal with him. I served my time, and when I got out, I moved away. I started over in a new city with a new job and new friends. I threw myself into my work and into finding myself. It was slow progress, but progress nonetheless. I started to see a therapist who helped me work through my anger and pain. She helped me see that I was a good man and that I deserved happiness, a family. Eventually, I started dating again. It was at a small bookstore that I met Anna. Not Clara's sister, but another Anna. She had bright eyes and a smile that could light up a room, and she was just as passionate about books as I was. We started talking, and something felt right, something I had never felt with Clara. We started dating, and I found myself falling for her slowly but surely. She was everything Clara was not: kind, honest, and genuine. She listened to me and understood my pain. She never judged me for what had happened. She simply helped me heal. After a year of dating, I asked Anna to marry me, and she said yes. We had a small, intimate wedding with our closest friends and family. Soon after, we had our first child, a baby boy with my eyes and Anna's beautiful smile. We named him Liam, and he became the center of our world. As I held him in my arms, I felt a sense of overwhelming joy. I looked at Anna, my wife, and I knew that I had finally found happiness. I never forgot what Clara had done and the pain she had caused, but I had moved on. I had built a new life, a new family, and I was finally content. My life was full, and the silence I once knew was now filled with laughter, love, and the happy babble of my children. I had gotten the revenge I wanted, but I had also found the happiness that I deserved. My story was not one of tragedy, but one of resilience and the understanding that even after the darkest storms, the sun can still shine. We had another child, a little girl named Lily, and my family was finally complete. My new life was everything I had ever wanted, and as I sat watching my children play, I knew that I had finally found my happy ending. Not because of what happened, but in spite of it.